Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton Sawin coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. If anyone out there has a story they'd like to share on the show, you can contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. If you want to contribute to help with the show, you can go to PayPal Me link that's in the description. And I appreciate every contribution that I get, and it very much is very helpful. So anyway, we have we're going to go by K because he needs to hide his identity a little bit. You know how that is. You know the routine around here. But anyway, this guy's got some stuff going on, and he would like to talk about it, and I think it's noteworthy to talk about. All right, Kay, you got a lot of ruckus going on there. What you got going on, man? You move?
Sorry, man. I was trying to get to where I can hear you and have some privacy.
It sounds like you're moving there. Good Lord.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. I'm just playing with you, man. Kay, if you want to, bud, just give whatever kind of introduction you want to about yourself, and then to give you a little bit of credentials or whatever you think you can do, and then we'll get into your story.
Well, for right now, I live in Maine, and I never really, until just a couple months ago, I always thought this stuff was just a bunch of, malarkey, I saw the Patterson thing when I was just a kid. I didn't think it was real. Then probably, I don't know, a few years back, there was some stuff up in Washington State that I saw, and I thought, well, they can keep that crap out there if it is real. And then I saw a thing a few years back in Canada where I know a lot of people have talked about it, but it was where they, they had that Bigfoot or whatever stepped on that board full of screws up in that cabin. Yeah. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I did see that on TV somewhere.
So I thought, well, that's fine. They can keep that in Canada,
Right.
So back in, I don't know, it's been 15 years. I was in law enforcement, and I don't know if you know it or not, but the Warden Service and Forestry, they're not always honest with people, and I think they do it just to protect people, and not too much to be deceiving, just not to cause an alarm.
Right, yeah, I agree.
Well, I was working in one of the smallest cities in central Maine, and somebody called and said they had a mountain lion. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I went over and looked, and I got out of the cruiser, and I went out, and they had bush hogged this field. There was a bunch of grass. They bush hogged it down. It was too thick to use a lawnmower. So, and the bush hogs, sometimes they'll strike the ground, and when they do, that blows a bunch of dirt everywhere. And I looked at the different patches of the dirt, and there was a track in that dirt bigger than my hand. I'm 6'2", I weigh 260, and this bunch of this was a huge print, and it was a cat. So really? I got talking to the wardens, and the wardens were like, "No, there's no mountain lions in Maine." Well, a forestry unit pulled me aside and said, "What he just told you is a lie." And I'm like, "Really?" Because I thought I was on their side. I wore a badge.
Yeah.
And he goes, "No." He goes, "They come down the railroad tracks from up north." And I'm like, "Really?" So then I kind of filed that in the back of my head. Well, next thing I know, I'm having problems here and there throughout my life. One time camping, I didn't think much of it. I just kind of, sloughed it off and said, well, this is probably just nothing. And then I have a cabin out in the woods on the side of a mountain. And I was sitting there one night, and I could hear acorns hitting the roof. And I didn't think much of it because I have oak trees. The only problem is the next day I noticed there's no oak trees up next to the cabin, so how were they falling on the roof? So then, this was like 3 years ago. So then, about 6 months later, I had this incident happen again. And I was talking to one of the guys that live up on the mountain, and he goes, I told him about it. He goes, you're bound to have some traffic through there. He goes, you built your cabin right on a game trail. I'm like, you're kidding me. He goes, no. I said, well, that's great. Well, it wasn't like a week later, and this was happening yet again. It sounds like somebody throwing acorns on the roof, but this time some of them hit the wall of the cabin. And I'm like, well, acorns don't fall sideways. So I didn't go outside or anything because it was dark and there's no power there. You know what I mean? I'm out on the side of a mountain. There's no power at my cabin. So the next day I went outside and I didn't see anything because there's no grass or driveway or nothing. It's out in the woods.
Yeah, and when you contacted me, man, it was like I could tell you were kind of at your wit's end, trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I did. I left the cabin.
I felt for you, man. It's like, man, I got to call this guy back. It's like I could tell you're at your wit's end. You're trying to figure this out, and you're having a hard time accepting it. And
well, let me tell you what happened the next night. I'm laying in bed. No, let me back up. It was just getting dark. It was like supper time, so I was rummaging around getting something together, and I got a little lantern there, runs on batteries, but you can recharge it. And I had that sitting up on top of the refrigerator, and it was going. And I was getting something for supper, and all of a sudden, like, it's only 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, but it's starting to get dark, and I got wicked tired. And I heard one of your shows the other night, because I just started listening to your shows a couple weeks ago, and when I heard that, it clicked. I went cold when I heard that woman do that imitation. She did an imitation, and I don't know if her name was Kat or Pat or something, but she did an imitation, and it sounded like a buzzing, vibrating, chanting thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a...
Right.
And I heard that, and I remember hearing it for just a split second, and I got wicked tired, and I went over and I laid down on my bed. And I woke up. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I woke up, and I couldn't see nothing. It was like, have you ever snuck a peek when you was a kid when somebody was welding?
Oh,
like
yeah.
welding metal?
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Okay, you know how that's just like the sun almost. It's wicked bright, right?
Right.
I couldn't open my eyes. I'm all alone in this cabin. I couldn't open my eyes. It's so bright. And I'm like, holy cow. It was worse than crying. The water was running down my face and all over my t-shirt. I couldn't stop it, but yet I couldn't open my eyes. It was like somebody threw sand in my eyes. And I didn't know what was going on. And I remember praying. I'm like, God, please give me my sight. I am scared. I don't know what's going on. And I reached over and I got a 40 caliber sitting beside the bed, and I grabbed that, and I was still wiping my eyes, and the water's running profusely down my face, and the light started dissipating. I got my eyes open just a crack, and the only light in that camp was that little dull lantern on top of the refrigerator, and it had been like 3 hours.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I had no idea what that was. And I remember I went over and I sat down and I lit a cigarette, and I was sitting there trying to figure out what this was. And I was going through my head, and I'm like, no, wait a minute. This has happened one other time when I was walking like on a bike path, and I could barely get home at my aunt's house where I was staying. At the time I was visiting, and I barely got home and laid down, and I woke up and the same thing happened again. And when that first happened, I thought I died or something. I'm like, is this the light you see when you're dying? You know what I mean? I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know, you know what I mean? Because this is intensely bright. So, anyway, the next night from that incident happened when I was at the camp. I'm laying in my bed. It's about 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night. I'm just getting ready to fall asleep. And I heard this. It sounded like, I thought it sounded like somebody exhaled, you know what I mean? Like, kind of loud. And I didn't think too much of it. And I ended up dozing off. And I woke up and my heart was pounding right out of my chest. Like, have you ever had an anxiety attack?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, okay, it was like that. I woke up and my heart's just pounding. And I heard this noise and my cabin has 2x4 walls and just plywood on the outside walls and and the house wrap, the white paper house wrap. I haven't put the siding on it yet. So anyway, right beside the bed, like if you could reach right straight out of the bed, right through the wall, I have a rain barrel that catches water from the edge of the eaves. Excuse me. And I heard something take the screen off the top of it. And you know how if you reach your hand in the water when you go to pick it up, you know the noise the water makes when it hits the water?
Yeah.
I heard that, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, holy cow, something's in the rain barrel. And I no more thought that, and I heard 2 steps, and it was heavy. I heard 2 steps, and it walked off. So I was kind of nervous. I'm like, I have no idea what's outside, but whatever it is, it's big. And we don't have bears there. Like, we have black bears in Maine, but I mean, there's never been any around there. I've been there almost 10 years. Never seen anything. Never even heard people talking.
This was outside your house?
Yeah. And if I reach right straight through the wall, it was 4 feet from me. So I heard it. The only thing between me and it was like 3 inches of insulation and a piece of half-inch plywood. Oh, and I smelled it. Now, have you ever smelled a gut pile 2 days later after you've gone in and killed the deer?
Well, it smells, similar, yeah.
Okay, it smelled like a 2-day-old gut pile. I do remember that because at first I'm like, what the hell is that smell? Right. You know what I mean? There was no reason for it to be there. I don't even put trash out. When I leave, I take trash with me.
Right.
You see what I mean? So I have no idea what that was. The last couple of weeks, I've been trying to write stuff down to try to figure this out and try to remember different things that's happened through the years. A couple of years back when I was married, my cousin came up, and I'm telling you, one ruined his dog. He had got a beagle, and we went rabbit hunting, and we had fresh fallen sticky snow. We'd go out in the woods, the beagle's looping, and sure enough, the beagle started ki-ying, and that beagle was gritty. I mean, never had a problem with him. Like, he's been around coyotes, and he's never come back. He keeps it on hunting. That beagle started ki-ying like something was killing it. So we emptied our shells out into our hat because it was in the wintertime. And then we put buckshot in, and we headed right in on the loop where the dog was chasing the rabbit. And we get in there, and that beagle's curled up in a ball, and it's a mess, right? Shaking and crying. My cousin's tending to the dog, and I made a loop about 50 yards around us in a circle. And I came back, and I said, how's the dog? He said, I don't know what's wrong with it. And he goes, did you find anything? I said, I can't see anything. I said, all the snow's falling off the trees. I couldn't see anything for tracks. Well, I find out a week later, he had lugged the dog out of the woods. Find out a week later, he tried to take the dog hunting, and the dog would go crazy if you mentioned hunting to him. Well, he put the dog in the truck. He reached over and grabbed his gun, went to get in the truck. The dog jumped out of the truck and ran in the house. And he told me he's never been able to take the dog hunting since. And I think that day, thinking back on it now, I think that dog was chasing that rabbit, and I think he come right up in behind the Sasquatch. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm guessing. I'm just guessing.
I mean, there's only a few things that can make sense on something like that, and from what we know on what this, the stories we collect and what have you, that for some reason these dogs get ruined by Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And they encounter these Bigfoot and they get ruined. I mean, it absolutely ruins the dog. And it puts so much fear into them, just like it does some humans. Right. It depends on what kind of encounter you have, I guess. Some people have bad encounters. Some people have a little bit better encounters. But I think the better encounters are like a distant encounter. Like they see it from a bar off or something like that. And every once in a while, you'll have somebody say that they encountered them, and it was a good experience or whatever. But I think it's a deception. It meant to deceive. Because it sounds like to me that you've been having some encounters that have been with some infrasound type stuff going on, with the hearing the humming and what have you, that can alter you physically. And I've been zapped before too. Look, I've been zapped, and they can do all different kinds of things to you when they zap you. I've been zapped to the point it made me physically sick, horribly sick.
Wow.
I mean, it was I mean, I was so sick that I could not even function.
Right.
But it only lasted a couple hours, and then also, some people get sick, but some people forget. Some people,
Yep.
there's all kinds of different reactions that people have to whatever the entity is trying to do to you, because they can do different stuff, and that's why I compare it to the angelic realm on when they smoke people in the Bible, Sometimes it would cause you to forget. Sometimes it would cause you to have madness. Sometimes it would cause you to fear. It's exactly what we see in the Bigfoot realm, and then you have this supernatural, seemingly supernatural stuff going on with your encounters, like these lights and stuff like that. And I know of one encounter where the Bigfoot was actually carrying the orb. It was an orb of light. He was carrying it.
Oh, wow.
And they saw the Bigfoot going across their backyard, and it was carrying like this bright orb. Had it in his hands, like one hand under it and one hand over it, and it was walking off with this light. It was an orb in his hands, and that made me wonder. It's like, well, what the heck is that about?
Right.
What would that mean? I mean, really, I don't know. I mean, we're only speculating at this point.
Right.
But there seems to be some supernatural activity that goes on with some Bigfoot cases. Not every one of them,
Right.
but some of them, there seems to be something supernatural about it.
Do you think that's what it was? Like, it's been around my cabin?
I think you have something spiritual going on there, and you have the Bigfoot activity going on there, and I think it probably is linked together in some kind of way, because the Bigfoot are probably Nephilim, in my opinion, because they're giants for one. There was giants in those days, and also after that, as the Bible says. And some people like say, well, all the giants were killed out during the flood. No, they weren't. The Bible says there was giants in land in those days, and also after that. And when you go to look at the time of like David when he was killing giants and stuff, that's after that. It was after the flood. So.
Now, can I ask you a question about those?
In Amos, it says that they dug themselves in, and then another question you asked was about the Raphaim and the
right. Now, I thought that was if a Nephilim bred with, say, a human person, like the offspring, like when the angels got cast out of heaven.
No,
they bred with the women, and then they had like offspring, and I thought that offspring bred with humans, and you ended up with Nephilim. Am I reading that wrong?
Yes, no, you're right about that. The Nephilim was the offspring of the angelic realm interbreeding with the daughters of men, and that created these giants. Now, when you're talking about Nephilim, that was a generic term for these giants. And then when you were asking what the difference was between Raphaim, that's just different tribal names. Moab, when they encountered these giants, they called them because they were in a valley. They were in the valley of Raphaim, so they called them Raphaim. But then there was also some of the tribes that called them like Imams or something, like pronounce something similar to imams, and the definition meant terror because of the terror they caused the worshipers. People worshiped them, and some of them Zamzummerims, some of them were Some of them were all kinds of different names. So that's tribal. That's almost like when you're saying Cherokee and different Indian type names. You might say you have Cherokee over here and Hopi over here, and then, that's kind of like what you're talking about there is the different tribal names of the same people.
I see.
Yep. Yeah.
So I don't know what to do because I can't put trail cams up. I don't have electricity at the cabin. You see what I mean? I don't know how to deter them. And it's not like I've got a handgun, which is a .40 caliber, and I've got an AR-15, which is a .223 or a 5.56, whatever you want to call it. That's not big enough to knock one of those down.
Well, a 45 knock them down, and a 44.
Well, I've got a 40, but
yeah, I mean they'll knock them down. You can shoot them; they'll drop dead right then. There's been many cases where people shot them with a 45, and bam, they drop right then.
See, I've always worried about shooting them because I don't know how much of them is human or not.
Right. Well,
you see what I mean? Because I've got values and.
Well, yeah,
what I mean?
But if they're haunting you and they're doing all that kind of stuff to you, and they're not joining the human race, so
Right.
If they're doing something to wreck your life, you got to protect yourself. And to me, I think that protecting yourself is paramount to any kind of stupidity that anybody might try to say about what's right and wrong. I'm not going to let anything terrorize me or my family ever. That's not going to happen.
No.
So if something comes around my house and they're tapping on my house and whacking on the house and throwing stuff at my house and terrorizing my family, you might get shot.
Right.
That's a fact. I'm not going to play with that.
Yeah.
You should know better.
No. And I understand that, and it's different in the way I'm thinking of it. If I knew that was a person, I'd step out on the steps and face it. Say, hey, come, you know what I mean? It's on.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what that was. I just knew that it weren't a person, and there was something inside of me telling me, you know what I mean? Like, that's bad outside. I don't know if that was the Holy Spirit. I don't know if it was God. I don't know, but something was telling me that is bad outside.
Well, let's put it this way: when Nephilim are killed, their souls come out of their bodies and they become the demons. So yes, they are bad.
I read some of that in the Bible on my phone because I didn't have a Bible where I was at, so I just downloaded the King James Version real quick, and I was looking through it, and I read some of that. I just didn't understand all of this. Now, do you think, how do I word that? Do you think it's because man has almost, pushed him back so many times through the years is why they've, through the ages, they've learned to fear man and hate man and all that?
No.
No?
No. They don't fear man, hate man. I mean, they hate man, but they don't fear man.
I shouldn't use the word fear because I don't think they're scared of anything.
No, they're not. They're not scared of us at all. They know exactly what kind of powers we got. The only thing that might make them fear a little bit is if they come out of their bodies and you cast them into hell.
Okay.
And because you can order in the name of Jesus and stuff that command them to go to the pit, to the hell, and that would be the only thing they might fear.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know because I listen to people that go squatching, and I don't think that's safe for people to go out there alone or just two people. I don't think that's safe. And I've listened to a lot of those stories of people doing that, and I try to take that information in and try to figure stuff out. And from what I've gathered, when those Bigfoot walk across in front of you and they don't look at you and they pause, you want to be looking around because I think you're about to get flanked.
Right, yeah.
Because I think they know you're there. I don't think you're surprising them.
No, you're not. They know you're there. Their senses are way higher. Whenever I go out there and I encounter these things, it's not that I'm hunting them. I go out and I camp, and they encounter me. You know,
I see.
They come
Yep.
to me.
Right.
And I look for some of the signs of them being around, and and I go and look at the signs, but I'm not going like hunting them.
Yeah.
You just need to be aware enough to know what to look for.
Right.
Like you said, you had acorns thrown at you. You know, you had, you're telling all the signs that you would look for. You're giving some of them anyway.
And I put all that together, and I'm like, something's wrong. I got to call him and find out what's going on to see if this is what it is, or maybe not. Maybe it's something different. But it's just the evidence didn't, and it was stacking up.
A reasonable person would say, "No, man, this ain't real."
Right.
But it is.
When I woke up, man, my heart was just pounding right out of my chest for no reason. No reason. Except I could smell that smell, and I heard that noise right beside the bed, just outside the wall. And that's when that came over me. I started to calm down, and it said I could just sense that was danger right outside the door, outside the wall.
Was there a window like next to where you were at, or what?
No, but just at the foot of the bed is where the door was. And I have a piece of, there's a curtain right there, a black curtain, so they can't look in. Nobody could look in, see what I mean?
Right. They seem to know where you are in the house.
Right.
How they do that, I'm not sure. But they seem to know, like, if you're in the house in a certain area, in a certain room, they can go right up next to the wall on the outside of the house and be right where you are.
Do you know those water barrels that people use for water barrels in blue plastic 55-gallon drums? Some people use them for bear bait and stuff.
Right.
They're blue plastic. Okay, that's what I have for a rain barrel. And I cut the top out of it, and I put a screen down over the top of it with a bungee cord. Well, it's not a big deal. I mean, anything could knock that screen off. But something reached down in there and pulled water up, because I heard the water falling out of, like, the hand, per se, and it falling back into the drum.
Right.
So I don't know if it was, like, playing in the water or just splashing the water, but if I reached through the wall, I could touch the edge of that drum. That's how close it was to me.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's some crazy stuff, man. For real. Yeah, for real. That's absurd stuff.
Yeah.
What I think you need to do is just you need to make sure you because if these things are Nephilim, and if they are when they come out of their bodies, they're demons. And I think it's kind of what you're experiencing. You're experiencing two levels of it. You're experiencing the Nephilim part, which is the physical creatures that are breathing outside your house. But then you're seeing lights and stuff like that are the demonic parts.
See, I don't know what that was. Yeah. And I figured being a Christian, I would never have to deal with that.
Right. Well, they're messing with you because you're not fighting against it. But you need to pray about it and say, hey, in the name of Jesus, I command you to leave here, and you don't accept it. Just say, in Jesus' name, I command you to leave. Say, I plead the blood of Jesus over my home, and I plead the blood of Jesus over my property. I plead, just kind of go with what you feel that you're led to pray. And they'll have to leave. There's no doubt about that. They have to go. That's a fact. If you're praying and you're asking the best of your ability, the Lord's going to honor that. He's going to drive that stuff off.
I'll try that.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to try it. You're going to do it, and it's going to work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll do that. Right. Now, I wanted to tell you also. Like I said, I've watched a lot of your shows because I've been trying to figure out what's going on. I've been house sitting for a friend of mine, and So I've had some time on my hand. There's nobody around, so I've been watching a bunch of them shows trying to figure out what this is. And I got steered onto your show, and I've watched everything as like a sponge trying to get all this information in. And I'm not going to sit here and go through all the different cases, but for people that want to know, and it's one of the most intriguing cases you've ever had, and it touched my heart. Do you know the gentleman that played with the baby Bigfoot?
Right, yeah.
I'm going to tell you a little secret about that man. I've interviewed a lot of people in the job I used to do, and I don't believe that man was lying. I think he's telling the truth.
Right. Yeah, that was a really very, very interesting case, man.
Yeah, because I watched his facial.
He had a lot of hurt in his heart.
Yeah, it did. That hurt his heart because he was close to her at a young age, and with what he went through for his trials and tribulations as a child, that he knew that was real, and that was his friend, and that hurt him. I just wanted to let you know, I watched his facial expressions. I watched his eyes like a hawk. Matter of fact, I watched that show twice, both episodes, and I think that man is telling you the truth.
Yeah, I do too.
Mm.
Yeah, you can feel the truth, man. You know, it's kind of like you can tell when someone's telling you the truth or not.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of people tell you the truth, but like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, this one didn't or that one did. That's not fair to YouTube land, and I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to pick the one that meant the most to me, stuck in my head the most, and I just wanted to let you know that gentleman right there, he had a heavy heart.
That was one of my favorite ones ever. You know?
Yeah.
For real. Yeah.
I was hoping on the second show he was going to say that he went back and she saw him as adults and that she remembered him, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, no. It was quite sad in a way. I mean, you know,
right.
For real. It was kind of sad because he never did really. It was almost as if he was let down again.
Yep. Yes. And you could watch, if you watch his eyes, if you watch that again, or next time you do, watch his eyes when he's actually trying to remember something. And his problem, and I read the comments down below, okay, and I can't stand these trolls. It isn't that he's lying. He's trying to put it into words. He's trying to pick the right word to explain it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, and if you watch his eyes, he's watching it back then, like you would something like, say you went to Disney as a child, and you remembered something spectacular about it. You might glance off, like look off, instead of looking right at the camera, you might look off for a minute, and you're reliving it, like you see yourself doing it. He was doing that. I could see him doing that, and then you see the emotion in his face, and he almost broke down crying. I'm like, that man right there is seeing what he saw as a child.
I don't remember the name of the video, but do you remember what it was called?
His name was Paul.
Paul, yeah. So
his name was Paul, but the name of the video is, I think it was something like, I played with Bigfoot as a child, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so anybody who wants to go out there and check that video out, you know, look for that.
I definitely recommend watching it, because
yes, it's a very interesting story.
And I touched just gently in my email, but you yourself, you touch a lot of people. God's working through you on this channel. I just want to let you know that.
Well, thanks, bro. Appreciate that.
I've seen it in the comments. Like, I know you can't sift through 1,000 comments or 500 comments, but I've had the time to, and I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that you witness to. Some of them would never darken the doorway of a church. I can tell by listening to them, but you've touched them.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing it for real. God bless you, and we'll talk soon, man. You got my number, you know, if you want to call.
Yep, that's you too. I just wanted to find out what I needed to do, because, like I said, there's no power there, and I didn't know what to do. It's just...
Well, you know what to do now.
I do. I don't need power to run that.
Right. All right.
Well, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, and we'll talk to you
All right.
later.
God bless.
God bless you, man.
All right. You too, man. Bye.